Welcome to the second season of Trophy Moments and a Few Firsts with me, Keith Baldwin. Sponsored by Spikes Trophies, where you can reach Spikes at gospikes.com or one of the 3 locations in the Delaware Valley. Today I would like to welcome my special guest, Ken Avallon, who during the day, his day job, he's a senior project manager for Comcast, but his side gig, so to speak, he's the president and trustee of the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame. And I was looking at 22 plus years.
Correct. Yep.
How did the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame start with a senior project manager from Comcast? How did you get that gig?
Yeah, right. Good question. And it was actually a good question at the time. So Frank Fitzpatrick, writer for the Philadelphia Inquirer, he used to do a weekly piece called Morning Bites. It's kind of irreverent, kind of poking fun at different things and asking questions and this, that. And one time I'm reading it, it said, wouldn't it be great if there was a Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame? And he was joking around so we could put some goofy things into it. I'm reading, I said, there's got to be. Philadelphia sports, with the history we have here, I said, there's got to be a Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame. So I started digging in, doing some research, and I found there's a Philadelphia Boxing Hall of Fame. There's a Philadelphia Big Five Hall of Fame. The Philadelphia A's, they kind of had some things going on. There's some county halls of fame. University of Pennsylvania, they had their own. But there was none for just Philadelphia sports, the entire area. So I looked at it, I said, that might be interesting. So that's literally what it was. And I got together with some friends. My father, he was alive at the time. My brother, a couple of friends, sports fans.
You obviously were a Philadelphia sports fan.
Absolutely. All sports fans and kind of diverse backgrounds. I said, what do you guys think? They said, what? I said, you want to start a Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame? They said, how do we do that? And we don't know. But we said, you know what? We're smart people. Let's put some thought into it. So we spent about a year just doing research. What we did was we reached out to a lot of regional sports Hall of Fame. Texas has their own, Virginia, Buffalo. And we asked them, what worked well for you guys when you were getting started? What were some of the things that didn't work well? So we kind of used that. And then a year later of kind of background work, we put together our first ballot. And then that was June of 03. And then by February of 04, we had our first class of inductees.
So in the first class, I see it because you house the Philadelphia Preview Sports Hall of Fame in our facility in Northeast Philadelphia. And it's the who's who of Philadelphia.
It is. And again, we're a volunteer group, and all of a sudden we have a class. In our first class, it's Joe Frazier. It's Harry Callis. It's
Julius Irving.
Paul Arizin, Julius Irving. Folks like that.
Bobby Clark,
Robin Roberts, Paul, and then we realized, oh, wait a minute, we have to have an event for these folks. And then that's what it was like, and we reached out, and I was, we didn't know what to expect, and then all of a sudden, Robin Roberts says, sure, I'll show up, I'll be there.
Where was it?
It was at the Society Hill Sheraton. It was our first one, Society Hill Sheraton. Joe Frazier, his people called. Yep, Joe's going to be there. Paul Arizin, yeah, I'll be there. And it's like, oh, wow.
As a Philadelphia sports fan, that had to be so exciting.
It was amazing. It was like, oh, wow. But people actually do like the idea. They realize it. Chuck Bednarik will be there. Steve Van Buren will be there. And that kind of helped. Once we get a couple of those names, we'd reach back out and say, sure, I'll show up. So that night we had the kind of the folks we mentioned right there. We needed MC. I'm not a public speaker. That's not what we do. We're thinking about it. I reached out to Pat Williams, great public speaker, GM for the Orlando Magic. I reached out to him. Took about a week. He called me up and says, what do you need? I explained the whole thing to him. I had sent him an email with the names. And he says, I'll do it. He goes, just get me to Philadelphia. I said, what do you need from me? He says, just get me to the podium. And that was it. He basically, we introduced him, and he took it from there. And that was such a boost for us. And from there on, it was.
How many people were in the first banquet?
The first banquet, believe it or not, was only about 244. It's because people didn't know us.
Right.
Which is hard to believe. You look at the class and all the people that were in that. If we're having that class now, it's probably going to be 1,000 people.
Right.
But it is what it is. We're a brand new organization, and it just increased from there. The next year we had probably close to twice that much. It just kind of went up from there.
And this induction ceremony happens when and where now?
So yeah, our 21st is coming up. It's November 7th. It's at Live Casino down in South Philly. Thursday night, it's open to the public. Right now, we're engaging our inductees. Most of them are going to be there, so it's going to be a really, really good night again this year.
Are you able to say who the inductees for this year's class is?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Who
yes, sure. Some of
because it's not just pro athletes.
No, that's right. It's all sports, all levels. That's a great point. This is an Olympic season, so Brendan Hansen, all-time great swimmer, Olympic swimmer, 6 or 7 gold medals. He'll be there. Joan Moore, most people probably never have heard of her. Tremendous gymnast. But some of the bigger names, Jameer Nelson from St. Joe's played. Yep. A couple of the 08 Phillies, Ryan Howard, Chase Utley, they're part of the class. Yeah. Rod Brindamore from the Flyers. Older Eagles, Stan Walders. A name some people probably remember, just retired a little while ago. Angelo Cataldi is going to be our legacy of excellence. Yeah, so that'll be interesting. He was neat. We going back and forth with him, and he said, he goes, I want everybody there to boo me when I get introduced, because of the way he did with Donovan McNabb and all that, as maybe a way for him to kind of closure on that whole thing. He said he's embarrassed by it. Looking back, he's embarrassed by it. But he said, I want everybody to boo me, and maybe that'll make me feel like Donovan did, and I won't be able to close it down.
So I'm going to take you back a little bit.
Sure.
So, okay, you start. You have your first induction ceremony. How do you go and now you've got a preview gallery, and you're now looking forward to an actual sports museum someday?
We are, and it's interesting. Stan Hockman pulled me aside, and he said, you guys are going to be victims of your own success, because the first 2 induction ceremonies, they were so good, and people automatically hear Hall of Fame, they think museum. People hear Hall of Fame, they think Cooperstown, or they think Springfield or Canton, that type of a thing. And that's not what we kind of got together for. We got together for a Hall of Fame. But it was just timing. The vet was going down. The Phillies called us up and said, we have a bunch of stuff here. Do you guys want some of it? Fran Dunphy calls us up. We got a bunch of stuff in the Palestra. We're going to get rid of it if you don't want it. So this is the original glass backboards from the Palestra, the standards. We've got turnstiles, and we said, oh, you know what? There's probably a future for that. So that's kind of how we started. We didn't go into it saying, we're going to build a museum. We didn't go into it.
People are coming to you and saying, listen, you've got this class. I mean, do you want this?
That's exactly right. We've had people just donate it. They saw Hall of Fame, and in their mind, they're thinking museums. We just had people reaching out to us through our website. Hey, I got some cool stuff. Do you want that? That kind of thing. And then we said, you know what? That makes a lot of sense. And it's the kind of thing where, especially this city, the sports history of the city, the museum, kind of culture of the city, it just makes sense to kind of blend those two together into a full-scale sports museum.
So what are some of the cool things that you have that you can come see if you wanted to go preview the preview gallery?
Sure. As I mentioned, Palestra, literally the original glass backboards from the Palestra. When they first started out, the backboards were all wood. But in the mid-'50s, they went glass. So we have those original backboards. A lot of people may not remember, but the 92 NCAA basketball playoffs, Christian Laettner and that famous shot when he does a turnaround jumper, we've got the backboards from that game. Unfortunately, it's 50 years since the Flyers won their cup, but in that game, that first game, it was a 1-0 game. Rick McLeish scored the only goal. As he's leaving the ice, coming into the Spectrum, one of our fans, his father worked there. He was handing out champagne. Gives Rick a glass of champagne. Rick says, "Here, you want this?" And gives him the stick. 4 years ago, the fellow died. His son, who I know through my son going to Rome, said, "Hey, Ken, I got this stick from Rick. I know the history of it. Do you guys want it?" So the stick that Rick scored the only goal with in Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Finals, we have that.
See, I didn't know that.
Yeah, neat stuff. We've got, you mentioned all sports, all levels. Willie Mosconi, probably the best billiard player ever. His son donated to us his home set of billiard balls that he would practice with. He just sit and practice them. We have them. It says right on the front, Willie Mosconi, Brunswick, those types of things. Tons of stuff from the old Philadelphia A's. We have some signed baseballs, Lou Gehrig and Babe Ruth. They played a lot of games here in Philadelphia. We've got tickets from the A's, those types of things. And we have a ton of things from, as I mentioned, from Veteran Stadiums. We have original outfield wall. We have ticket windows. We have ticket lighting, that type of thing. So it's really a real neat collection. And in a real full-scale museum, it would be really quite an experience.
So the event that you put on every year, it's the first Thursday in November, right?
Correct. Yep.
And it's moved to live casino. So I've been to a half a dozen of them now since I've known you. And every one that I go to, it seems like if they're alive, they come back. I'll never forget Andrew Toney coming back. He doesn't come back for anything. And he was teaching in Atlanta?
In Louisiana.
Louisiana.
Yep.
And he showed up.
Yep.
And the people that show up to this, and they comment how much they appreciate Philadelphia. And I think it's because they recognize the fans of Philadelphia and their passion for them and the sport. And a number of them have commented, not only to me, but to the group, that you treat them better than the actual Hall of Fames that they may have been in.
We've heard that a little bit. Like the questions they ask us, what do you need from me? Nothing. I just need you to show up. What do you mean? Like I think they're used to getting asked for stuff and then showing up and having to, donate stuff or having to, spend an hour signing stuff, that kind of a thing. And we literally don't ask for anything. We'll have them maybe sign a baseball or sign a basketball, and that's it. And then we're done. And they literally, we let them get in there for an hour or so ahead of time, private meet and greet to spend time with their family. But after that, they're on their own. They can do what they want. They can interact with the crowd as much as they want. If they want to sign autographs, they can. We don't encourage it, but some of them are great about it. Some of them aren't. But we literally just want them there to be able to. That's exactly right. And what's interesting is that, like, I guess if you think about how sports has changed from the 30s, 40s, 50s to now, just how much more celebrity there is. But like some of the older folks really appreciate it, and who really appreciates it is the families. Somebody who's deceased, but we're recognizing their father, we're recognizing their mother, and it's neat.
Do you have any examples of that?
Yeah, sure. Well, even like Jimmy Fox's daughter, we tracked her down. We flew her up from Florida. She came in. Connie Mack's daughter, they were there. It was neat. She called him Daddy. She had a letter from FDR written to Connie Mack during the war because they were thinking about possibly shutting down baseball. And then she read the letter, and everybody just stopped. Wow, that was really cool. And she was in her mid-90s at that time, so it was neat. Those types. So yeah, they kind of appreciated, I think, because it's Dad, and they didn't know much about him, but wow, these people are recognizing him. So it's like, wow, that's pretty cool.
And even the people that have names, I mean, I can remember some very signature moments. Billy White Shoes Johnson, in his white shoes, getting up on the dais and doing his touchdown dance on the dais.
Absolutely, yeah. And we said, what's the event like? I said, have fun, enjoy yourselves. You probably weren't there in our second induction ceremony.
No, I was not.
Okay, second induction ceremony, again, some big names. We had Ed Snyder went in, Charles Barkley, Tommy McDonald. So towards the end, Tommy McDonald's up there, and he's really emotional. I don't know if you know Tommy McDonald. He was always really emotional. And he's up there, and he's almost crying. And he said, one of the things I always wanted to do was chest bump Charles Barkley. And Barkley's, probably twice what he weighs. So Charles, he's good natured, gets up, and they do it, and they do a chest bump, and Charles knocks him off the stage. And luckily, one of our guys is back there, and he pops up, and he's going like this, he's clapping. But everybody's just really enjoying it. That's the type of night it is. It's just a fun night. There's a lot of things like that. You never know what's going to happen. You just never know. And it's really just an entertaining evening.
And I'll remember Brian Dawkins. I mean, you could hear a pin drop when he gave his speech, and it was like, when he was done, I think everybody would run through the wall for that man.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so you go from something that's very funny to something that's very inspirational, and the mix in between. And it's not just professional sports. I mean, you've got the rowers. Sure. College rowers, or you've got the head of female lacrosse or field hockey
Sure.
that are in the Field Hockey Sports Hall of Fame nationally, or they're gold medal winners.
Yep, sure.
That maybe aren't household names that I wouldn't know off the top of my head, but you're reading their accomplishments, and it's stunning. I mean, so you probably do some research for that?
We do a lot of research. It's all sports, all levels. So it's, to your point, it's obviously the professional sports.
They're the easy ones to pick.
The easy ones, boxing, those types. Then you're talking about, could be field hockey or lacrosse or rowing, golf, tennis. We have 2 years ago fencing. We inducted Dr. Nikki Frank from fencing, those types of things. And to your point, you do the research and you look at that, and they're not well known, but it's excellence in what they're doing. And what's really...
And they have to have either played in Philadelphia or grew up in and around Philadelphia.
Right. The qualifications would be right. If you're born here. So a lot of people...
Reggie Jackson,
perfect example. Reggie Jackson, Roy Campanella. A lot of people don't know Roy Campanella. He came from Nicetown. Those types. Herb Adderley. Those types that were here, but they had most of their fame elsewhere. Or the folks that are, like, to your point, Dr. J, Brian Dawkins, those types that were that played here and they had their success here. But what is interesting, and a lot of different times the different inductees will mention this. They'll look around and they'll have relationships with different people up on the stage with them. The people that are getting inducted. And it's almost like a fraternity or sorority. It's a club. And they'll mention, and they'll recognize the excellence. Like, I can't do what you do. I was blessed to be able to do what I can do. But I can't hit a tennis ball like you, or I can't swim like you, or I can't golf like you. And they appreciate the effort, the excellence and the effort and the determination to get to that point, even though that particular person may not have the same celebrity as somebody from one of the major sports. And that's fulfilling for us. That's I mean, people, they reach out after the event. They're so just so happy and appreciative. I just got a note from Irving Fryer. He was inducted last year. He goes, Ken, I'm coming to the induction this year. What do I have to do? Here it is, 6 months from now, but he's reaching out already, wanting to be there.
It's funny you say that. I see a lot of past recipients come back.
Yep.
Because they've enjoyed the experience that you provide them.
We do. And we invite them back. It's almost like a welcoming committee. Every year, once we announce the class, we reach out to all of our past inductees. Here's the new class. The induction ceremony is coming up. Just want to give you a heads up. Save the date, that type of a thing. And that's neat, because a lot of the new inductees, they have relationships with these folks, and they'll talk to them. Some of our writers we've inducted, they'll write for somebody coming into the class, like Ray Dinger writes for us every year, those types of things. And that adds to the experience for the people that are attending. Somebody comes in, they may buy a table, they may buy a couple of tickets because they see the current class going in, but Ray Dinger may sit at their table, or they may be sitting next to Bernie Perrant or something like that.
And I've had that experience. I've sat next to a number of Philadelphia legends, and they were just so gracious with their time. Future. Where do you see the future for the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame? Or what's a goal that you want for it?
Kind of touched on a little bit, but a full-scale sports museum. Kind of Smithsonian-like. A lot of interaction, not just a bunch of old stuff that people can look at, but really, you can have a perfect example. You have the Rick McLeish stick right there. Okay, you have a narrative about that. There might be a QR code. There might be a video about that. So it's kind of an interactive experience.
And tell the story.
Right, you'll tell that story instead of just having a bunch of old stuff. But the museum is not a moneymaker, unfortunately. You look at it, whether it's a museum of art or the Please Touch Museum, you can't get enough people through that turnstile. So putting that business plan together, that sustainable plan together, it's been a challenge. And we've had some ups and downs. We've had some peaks with discussing the folks down at Xfinity Live. We're going to be part of their phase 2. Phase 2 never happened for various reasons, economy, the whole bit. But we've had some people, if you're paying attention to the sports scene in the area, there's a lot of talks of something going on maybe in Center City with the Sixers, or maybe this new development down in South Philly. And we've had conversations with both of those groups.
And you're in the mix.
We're in the mix. They know us. They really appreciate the brand. They hear Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame. They know who we are. So like we have to spend 20 minutes explaining to them who we are. They know the brand. They know who we are. So we're part of that. Now those projects they're years in the future, but that's something that would probably be a great location. Either location if it happens, and it would be a terrific just experience for Philadelphia sports fans.
Well, I get to experience in a very small way. I've told you when during the week people will come in, and it's locked up.
Yep.
You open it up on the weekends or on Saturdays, but they'll say, do you have the Sports Hall of Fame here or the preview gallery? Can we see it? I've had people drive from around the country, or I've had Philadelphia fans come in,
right.
And when I take them in there, every time I do, and I've commented this to you, there's always a story about me and my father, my mother, my parents took me to a game. I was at Scheid Park, because you've got a brick of Scheid Park. You've got all this memorabilia. You've got the center field wall of Vet Stadium. I remember when I was at, and they take you back to the time that they spent as a child with their family, with their parent, and and I just sit there and listen to them. And it's amazing to me the connections that these people have and how much it means to them. I mean, they're driving from all over the place to experience this.
Yep. But what's great for you is you experience it at the retail level.
Yep.
The people, and that's the memory. It's easy to talk high level, all sports music, that type of thing. But to your point, guy may walk in and he may see Rick McLeish's stick, or he may see the outfield wall. I saw Aaron Rowan smash into that wall. Those types of things, and they're the memories. And that's the type of thing that would draw people to a sports museum, and you don't know what's going to excite them. You don't know what their memories are going to be. And that's what's neat about what we do. It's kind of like even with our induction ceremony, a lot of it's unknown. We don't like to plan a lot of it, and that experience would be the same way.
Everybody I brought to that event has thanked me unbelievably because it just means so much to them. It's their favorite player, and then they get to experience the rest of it. So anyway, I'm going to shift gears a little bit, because and the name of this is Trophy Moments.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask Ken Avallon, what's your trophy moment of your life, and what did it mean to you, and how did it affect you? And
okay, it's interesting. And I literally won one trophy in my life for a team sport. 6th grade football, St. John of the Cross, playing CYO football. We were undefeated. We were 6-0-3, so we had 3 ties. We were undefeated, but we won a championship. So my trophy was 1972, and since then.
Do you still have it?
I do. I have it. I've got my red jacket, St. John of the Cross. Yeah, I still have it. I don't know if Spikes did the trophy or not. I have to look in the bottom to see if they did. But even since then, there have been, I think, 6 professional titles in 50. So what's it? Over 200 seasons, 220 seasons, and we have 6 of them, and that's it. That's why when the Phillies win or the Flyers win, it's just such a memory, because you never know what's going to happen again. We thought, oh wait, the Phillies won in 08. You know what? Sure, they'll win again in 09. Here it is, Eagles 2017. You think it's going to happen again? And unfortunately, you look out west, you look at what the Steelers do, and then the Penguins, or you go up north and you look at Boston. They got the Celtics and the Patriots. It's like at the time, me winning that trophy didn't realize it, but looking back 50-some years, it's like, wow, that's a big deal to be able to do that and win that, and it just means a lot.
Well, obviously, you've held on to it.
Yep.
It came to mind immediately when I asked you that.
Right. Yeah, it really did. Yeah,
it did affect you.
Yep.
Greatly.
Yep.
And then secondly, a first. So what's something that you've always wanted to do, and you haven't gotten to it yet?
Well, how about something that it was a first, and it was the same time you were starting your leap year first, January 2020. Most people have a family dog. Okay, we had our dog Guinness. We had him for 12 years. You had to put him down, and it's just horrible. So we waited a year, and we did. Anybody who has had a pet had to do it. You know what it's like. So we said we're done. We're done with dogs, and so we waited a year. And my wife goes, "What do you think about fostering?" I didn't know anything about it. I said, "What do you mean?" She said, and she explained it to me. And her cousin had done some fostering, but she lives in Jersey, so it wasn't convenient. So we looked into it, And we said, okay, let's reach out to this group and see about maybe we'll foster a dog and see what happens with that. So in January of 2020, we fostered our first dog, Avallon, her name was. The second dog came in was Bindi. She was blind. And you think you're going to get attached to them, but it's a different mindset. And you're there to make sure they're healthy, keep them healthy and have them get adopted out. And I'll tell you, Keith, it's a shame. Most of them come from down south. They don't spay a lot down there. They don't neuter a lot. So there's stray dogs. And they come up, and some of them are really sick. Some of them are in great health, but they can't tell you your story. So that was January 2020. We just got rid of Mr. Griswold. He was our 33rd dog we fostered in that time. Yeah.
How many multiples did you have in the house at the same time? Like, is it one at a time, or is it?
Normally it's one at a time. Sometimes it'll be a crossover. Like sometimes a dog may be ready for adoption. They're already adopted, but they need a place to go. But normally it's one at a time because again, you don't know their history. So you're getting a dog that he may have been great with people, or you don't know that. So we don't like to put them together. And we don't have our own dog, and that actually helps us because we can take any dog they have.
Right.
If we get a female, maybe we couldn't take another female, or we couldn't take another male. So we just, and once they're gone, it's like, take a breath. We're so happy. But now my wife goes, we're ready for another one, aren't we? But it's a real rewarding type of a thing. We get our fix of the dogs, and you just feel so great about it. And what's neat is, a lot of the adopters keep in touch with us. We'll get a picture from Brody, who was adopted a while ago, or Griswold, or whoever it is, Aspen. So it's neat seeing that they're in a happy home and they're living their lives.
That's pretty cool.
It is. It's fun.
I did not know that about the fostering of 33.
Yeah, he's our 33rd. Griswold was. Yep.
And you got 34 on the horizon.
Yeah, like I said, we're going to take a break, and it works out well for us because summertime we spend at home, so we're able to take dogs during the summer.
So we're coming near the end,
okay.
And I not only hope that you find your 34th dog that you can foster.
We will.
But I hope that you find an actual sports museum in Philadelphia for us sports fans in Philadelphia to experience. So Ken, it's been great. How can we get in touch with the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame?
Sure.
Or if we wanted to attend the November banquet?
It's pretty easy. It's one word, PhiladelphiaSportsHallOfFame.org. We're out there. It's got information about the banquet, who's going to be inducted, the sponsor
and you can
levels,
get tickets online.
You can order them right online. Yep, PhiladelphiaSportsHallOfFame.org.
If you haven't gone, I would highly recommend, if you're a sports fan in Philadelphia, it's who's who in Philadelphia at that event. Ken, it's been a pleasure, an honor, and thank you once again.
I appreciate it. Glad to be here. A lot of fun.